Hello, welcome back to Who Needs a Superhero, Chapter 6, Wonder Woman, The Power of Truth. We are in Part 6, Remembering Earthian Roots. In Wonder Woman's very first story, she's established as the daughter of the Amazons, Queen Hippolyta. Perhaps you've wondered how a daughter could be born to a queen of an exclusively female society. The answer lies in the peculiar mythology of Paradise Island. Queen Hippolyta fashioned a baby girl from clay, and the Greek gods gave life to the Earthian sculpture. Diana, who grew up to be Wonder Woman, more than once Wonder Woman's enemies have literally turned her back into clay, forcibly reminding the princess of her humble beginnings. In every circumstance, challenge, and calling, Diana would do well to remember she is a creature of clay, given the blessing of life by the powers higher than her own. Perhaps you and I would also benefit from that particular insight behind the trappings of Greek mythology. The story of Wonder Woman's birth calls to mind the account of humanity's creation in the second chapter of Genesis. The Lord formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Man became a living being. Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. Like Wonder Woman, we too are created from clay. The name of our first father, Adam, derives from a Hebrew word that means ground or earth. Our English words human and humble descend from humus, the Latin word for soil. Driving past cemetery reminds us of our own humble stature. We came from earth, and when our days are spent, we will return to the earth. This is the truth about who we are. We are living clay. We did not make ourselves. We are not God. We are human beings. We are not the creator. We are merely God's creation. Unless we grasp this truth, we will inevitably live our lives either in fear or in rebellion. Knowing that we are God's handiwork liberates us from so many lies and falsehoods. Accepting that we are created beings frees us from the terrible burden of playing God. We aren't self-sufficient. We don't have to be. God gave us life, and God will provide what we need for fullness of life. Being creatures means we are not expected to save ourselves by our own hard work and goodness. God made us, God loves us, and God will never abandon us. God freely gives salvation to all those who seek it from his hand. Living within our limit frees us from taking responsibility for actions of others and allows us to be gentle with ourselves when we fall short of what others expect from us. Our neighbors are answerable to the Creator for their own lives. So are we. Although we owe love and support to one another, ultimately God alone can show us who we are meant to be. Whether we satisfy the expectation of our parents, teachers, preachers, bosses, and spouses is irrelevant. Accepting our humanity reassures us that we don't have to guess at the meaning of life or make up our own role in the world. The meaning of the life is God's job, a job God is perfectly able to handle without our help. Our calling is simply to live in a humble and loving relationship with our Creator. Ah, but there's the rub. Part of the bitter truth we must accept is our ongoing failure to love and trust God. We, creatures of clay, have fallen short of God's hopes for us. Sometimes we excuse our mistakes by saying, I'm only human. But being human is not our problem. On the contrary, most of our troubles arise when we reject our humanity. We keep trying to be something else. We refuse to live with God-given boundaries. We pretend to save ourselves. We pretend we can save ourselves. We prop our sagging self-esteems by lording it over others. We sprint towards a dead end when we deny our need for God and try to compete apart from God. God made us and God knows our specs. Why do we deceive ourselves that we know more about life than God does? God is in the best position to help us understand ourselves, including both our boundaries and our potential. When we reject God's guidelines, we close our eyes to the truth and become entangled in lies. This has been our problem since the Garden of Eden, when the serpent convinced Eve that her personal fulfillment lay in disobeying God. The lie of self-sufficiency still haunts us to this day. Every sin we commit is a lie, a deception that contradicts our true nature, our rightful relationship with God. To make matters worse, we deny that anything is wrong. We don't need help, thank you very much, because we didn't have a problem. Sin is such a harsh word. We're not sinners, we're just righteously challenged. As Robin might have said on the old television show, holy self-deception, Batman! Anyways, that is the end of part 6. Again, thank you for tuning in, and remember to hit that like button, smash it, comment, share, subscribe, and of course, hit the notification bell. That way you know when more stuff is coming up. And we will be back with Bound by Something Harder for part 7, the last part of Wonder Woman, chapter 6. The last part of chapter 6, Wonder Woman, the power of truth. And thank you for tuning in. Bye for now. God bless.